Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Zar Antonov, head of the International Society of Dracology (EV) and also president of the United Republic of Obscurium, the Dragon Nation. I am here today with.
Justin Tsai, and I'm just in time for this brilliant presentation. Um, I'm from Taiwan, um, obviously in East Asia, but today I'm going to be focusing exactly on the culture and history and other theories behind dragon and its surrounding myths in Asia, in East Asia particularly. So, thank you, everyone.
Exactly, that's what we're gonna talk about today. He's also the Prime Minister of the Republic of Hershwell. Uh,
Republic.
sorry, the Principality. Sorry, the Principality of Herschel.
Yeah.
Not yet a republic.
No, okay.
we might change it in the future. Anyhow,
Yeah, no, no.
um, the Principality of Herschel, of course, and yes, as he said, he's gonna tell us a bit about East Asian dragons because it is still the year of the dragon. Now I know what you're thinking. I promised you dragon talks, and all we had so far was one. Um, with Mesoamerican dragons, and that was months ago. The summer has been a busy time, but we are back now, and I do plan on finishing this year. And this is the next installment, part two. So please enjoy listening to some information about East Asian dragons, particularly in China and Taiwan. And that's what we're gonna start with. Justin, please do tell us about East Asian
Yeah,
dragons.
definitely. I think it's very important to start with the idea that dragon is a symbol of power, a symbol of um imperial rule, and also some sort of divine mandate given to the leaders of the nations and also to the nations themselves. And you definitely see that in a lot of the ancient and, well, not even ancient, maybe early modern East Asian states such as China, such as Korea, um, Japan, and such. And you could definitely see that in their flags and the fact that oftentimes the emperor is represented by a dragon. You call the robe that a Chinese emperor wear as the uh dragon robe, right? Um, so there's definitely that connection, and so that's drastically different from how dragon is portrayed in the West, especially with the fact that dragons are usually slain in horrible manners, and very violent manners, because they are seen as the villains. They're seen as representatives of the devil, or evilness. So there's definitely that difference, that contrast between the East and West perception of dragon. Um, and also, I would like to talk about uh, how come dragon is also a thing in the East, because I believe, Zara, you and your channel have definitely covered sort of the history and origin of dragon in the West. And why is that also a thing here? I believe fossil is the reason. I believe fossil is the reason people looked at fossils before even arch- uh, before um before science. In people in the pre-scientific era, they were probably very puzzled by the fossils they found. And, well, we dinosaurs had certainly look very similar to today's uh portrayal of dragons. So Chinese people or East Asians, um, before the scientific era, looked at fossils and thought they are some kind of creature that is, one, godly, and two, um, sort of intangible. Let's put it that way. It's
Hmm.
something that lurks in the sky amongst the mountains, and not something that you could really see every day. Like panda or panda, or in America the Panda Express. That is absolutely horrible. Um, and yeah, so maybe one example I could give is a long time before, colonization, before scientific revolution, before industrialization, um, the Chinese have been using fossils as medicine, and you could actually see that still in today's Chinese medicine prescription. They call this certain medicine Longgu, or dragon bones, and
Hmm.
they call it dragon bones because, you know like as I mentioned, fossils look like dragons, and this medicine actually, people believe it can alleviate headaches, dizziness, or um, frequent dreams. And so this kind of sort of unscientific explanation of the medicine also um, certainly enhances the its connection with the dragon, or the idea of a dragon. So um, I'm not sure if I'm going in the direction that you wish to present in this channel, but I hope that's a good introduction
No,
to.
no, absolutely. It's important to point out that contrast between the Eastern and Western dragons because there's, as you said, a very, very big contrast between them. And the theory you're talking about is also quite widespread, also in the West, that dragons come from the discovery of fossilized bones or even other bones. Mind you, it's not a universally agreed upon theory, but the thing is, dragons being a mythical creature, of course, there is not going to be a single definitive theory where you can say, yes, that's why dragons exist. And actually, we haven't talked about that yet on this channel, but I also plan to have someone here to talk about all the different origins of dragons and why there is this image of a dragon all around the world. Because, well, not all around the world. There are no dragons in Antarctica, to my knowledge, but um, it is quite widespread, even though Western dragons are quite a bit different um, to Eastern dragons. Another major difference, maybe you can talk about that a little bit, is also the way dragons are depicted, like physically, because obviously Western dragons they have two big wings and maybe four limbs or two limbs, red or green scales and horns, and they breathe fire. So what do East Asian dragons look like then?
um well, East Asian dragons, it's basically a combination of many different animals. I mean, you have the snake-like body, um, the chicken-like uh claws. You have the horse-like, facial features, and and also fish skins, as you call it, on its body. So I would say that's not really a thing for Western dragons. It's the dragon in East Asia is built upon things that are already present, not
Mm-hmm.
only fossils that used to exist a long time ago, but also animals that people see from their daily lives. So it's sort of like this conjuring of, this mixture, this composition of things that are mythical and hard to understand, like fossils, like dinosaurs, with things that you see every day, like the pig you eat, or well,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have the pig you eat, and well, the snake you see in your backyard. So,
Right, right.
uh, that's a interesting way to look at it. Yeah,
And do Chinese East Asian dragons do they breathe fire?
refire.
Do
What do
they
you mean
breathe?
refire?
Do they breathe fire?
Uh, that's it. I'm not actually quite sure. I don't think that's a big thing that they breathe fire. I've certainly not seen it in any. religious or political motives um until now for now.
Hmm.
So yeah, it shouldn't be yeah, it's not a thing here.
Okay.
Um and it's not as aggressive because it doesn't breathe fire and it doesn't really attack people. It's not a villain.
Okay.
So so here it's more of a good luck. It actually represents prosperity in East Asia. So
Yeah, that's why
yeah,
the Year of the Dragon is especially auspicious.
yeah, and sometimes it's not worshipped or maybe seen as a rain god that um promotes promotes
Yes.
harmony.
Yes,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I, I read a bunch of stories about dragons in China being associated with rain and rain gods. But another aspect of some of those stories was something dragons are often depicted with or seen carrying, that being a pearl, the dragon pearl. Can you tell us a bit
Yeah.
more about the dragon pearl?
You mean the pearl they hold?
Yes.
Pearl they hold. Um, there's a. Let me think about it. This is a hard topic. Dragon pearl. Um,
Because they either hold like a pearl in one of their claws, or they have it in their mouth, or somewhere else on their body.
that's a good question. I don't think I have the. I don't think I have the knowledge to answer that.
Actually, well, at least according to my research or the books I read, uh, people are actually not sure where a dragon pearl comes from, or what it even means and represents. There seem to be a couple of theories, but it's not quite certain what the dragon pearl is supposed to be.
Hmm.
Apparently.
Well,
Um,
pearl is an important material for decorative arts in East Asia, both religiously and politically.
mhm.
And I'm sure the pearl that dragons hold or bite certainly has the connotation of power, as I mentioned before.
Most
Um,
likely.
yeah, power that they hold and they represent.
That's probably how it came to be associated with that particular object. Do you know off the top of your head? Do you know uh, any popular dragon story from China, East
Dragon
Asia
story.
in general?
Dragon story. Do I know any dragon
Like
story?
when you think of Western dragons, you think of say Saint George,
Saint
for
George.
example, or you think of
Right,
Siegfried slaying the Lindworm.
right.
You think of Smok Wawelski in Krakow.
I
Those
don't
kinds
know
of
because
stories.
um I don't know because dragon is really so prevalent here. That it's not even like a singular folklore. It's just so pervasive into
It's
so many
everywhere.
aspects. Well, you could say there's the Dragon King in the sea that controls water like rain and storms.
Hmm.
And he protects fishermen and coastal villages from any disasters.
Ah,
So there's that, which is interesting because in this case the dragon lives in the ocean, in the sea. Um,
but that
which
we have the association with water again. We talked about rain earlier, and now it's
yeah,
living in the sea. It's living in the water.
and there's again the dragons in the mountains, the mountain dragons, which is more commonly more stereotypical of the East Asian dragons because well the dragon king that lives in the sea isn't really that famous, but
Uh
it's
huh.
quite well known here. Um, yeah, but I think I could talk a bit more about the political implication of dragon in today's East Asia.
Please do.
It's just I think dragon, although dragon is so universal in the world, but also amongst the East Asian nations, um, it's more and more become a thing for the modern Chinese state to to sort of claim, sort of hold on to. And one thing for sure is, in the 70s, there was actually a trend amongst East Asian nations to pick an animal that represents their country. You have the wolf for Mongolia because they believe the wolves are their ancestors. Um,
Mhm.
you have the white tiger for Korea, and you have certainly for China. I think O is the best. Um, Dragon is certainly a very fitting animal, although um, it's not real. Unlike what Tsar would say, Tsar the conspiracy. But
They're just hiding the dragons from you. They're real, but the
no,
government is hiding them.
no, no. Go see a doctor.
They're all in
Yeah,
Area
but
51.
oh god, yeah. But yeah, and the Chinese call themselves 龙的传人 or descendants of dragon. And
Mhm.
and even until today, dragon is sort of used to symbolize and represent the Chinese. Um, there's 2 days ago I just saw a Telegraph uh, article of how Taiwan has this technology that's defending itself from China, and the news headline actually used um, dragon. It said something along the line of defending against holding up against the dragon, the Chinese dragon.
Mm.
So it's certainly become more and more a political caricature for the
Mhm.
modern Chinese state, in both used lovingly by themselves, but also by the international imagery, international impression of
Absolutely.
China. So that's a very interesting way to look at it. But then still, it's very common amongst other non-China uh, East Asian countries as well. I mean, you see that in Taiwan, you see that in dragons in Japan, in Korea. So, do they really have the right to claim the dragons? I mean, certainly the idea of dragon in East Asia came from China. So you could say there is a direct descendants of the idea
Mhm.
of a Chinese dragon. Um, so yeah, everything can be politicized
That's true.
um, or politicalized, and dragons just got caught up in it. It couldn't escape from the dirty
No,
politics
no,
of
nobody escapes the politics. Nobody.
yeah,
Not even the
nobody,
dragons.
not even dragons, not even the mighty
But
dragons.
here is the interesting thing because we are of course talking when you say China, you're of course talking about the People's Republic of China,
The
but
People's
but
Republic.
legally
Yeah,
and officially, of course, well, officially, of course, Taiwan is also known as the Republic of China. So what's Taiwan's official relationship with the dragon? So when all of the East Asian nations claimed like their national animals, what did Taiwan do? Did they say we are also China, we are also claiming the dragon, or did they say no, we are taking a different animal to set us apart from the communist Chinese?
well, I think when I talked about the political connotation of dragon for China, I don't think it is as strong as the panda. I mean, you always see panda or other sorts of bear
Mm-hmm.
represented for China. Um, but dragon isn't as controversial, I'd say, or the political connotation of the dragon isn't as strong as other animals might be for the Chinese. So we certainly here in Taiwan we don't really have a problem with with dragons. You see them everywhere as well in temples. Um, and if you want to talk about the Republic of China, well, the Republic of China used to have their um national emblem with with a dragon. I mean, that's just sort of with a dragon
Mm.
um from 1913 to 1928. Um, and you have that on the colonial arms of Hong Kong as well until 1997 when the British left. So you certainly see it used in national emblems and other political imagery in other East Asian countries. But for Taiwan today, the you if you're really curious about how dragon is portrayed in a political sense in Taiwan, then I'll say because of the complex uh, political self-identification of Taiwanese today, um, I feel like the Taiwanese won't really say use the dragon to represent ourselves. I mean, more and more I've been seeing people using and the government using um the Taiwan bear, the Taiwanese black bear
Uh-huh.
to represent itself on the international stage and within their country as well. Um, just a basic information: the Taiwanese black bear is a endangered species in Taiwan, native to Taiwan. And notably, they have a V shape, a white V shape on uh on their chest here, um, sort of looking like a victory.
Mm-hmm.
So victory sign. So it's that
Ah.
bear is completely native to the Taiwanese, and it's prevalent in a lot of the Aboriginal Chinese folk tales and such. And even though it's endangered today, it's I think it's a very good representative of Taiwan, of how um unique the animal is and how native it is to this island. Because I mean, dragons aren't real again, Zar, unfortunately, but
Allegedly.
allegedly not real. But yeah, I think the idea of Taiwanese black bear has been here even before the Han Chinese immigrated to
Mm-hmm.
massively immigrated to Taiwan. I mean, it's already an Australian um a Taiwanese Aboriginal thing to worship or sort of uh uh incorporate the Taiwanese black bear into parts of their folk tales.
But getting back to the dragons,
Yeah.
of course. So obviously the Chinese, the Han Chinese, they brought over a lot of the dragon culture with them. But before the Chinese came, did the Aboriginal Taiwanese also have any association with dragons, or did all the dragons come with the Chinese?
All the dragons come from the Chinese. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I cannot find I cannot remember any dragon in Aboriginal Taiwanese imagery and culture. It's certainly a Han Chinese thing, but the thing is today's Taiwan is 90 something percent Han Chinese ethnically. So I mean, you know, it really is a thing here as well. But um if you're talking about Aboriginal
Hmm.
Taiwanese, I certainly cannot think of it being native to the island.
All right. So earlier you mentioned the Chinese name for dragon, which is my puppy came off, which is a long. Um,
Yeah,
so when I went to an event for the beginning of the Lunar New Year earlier this year,
yeah.
they told us it was a Chinese lady there, and she told us that she doesn't like the name dragon being used to describe Chinese dragons or East Asian dragons. She
Mm.
prefers if we also use the name long in English. So, what is your take on that? Do you think it's okay to call Chinese dragons in particular and East Asian generals and in East Asian dragons in general dragons, or should we start calling them long? Or what's your take on that?
Um, the name is given to Chinese dragons by Westerners. That's for sure. It's not a native name. We certainly don't call it dragon here. Um, the thing is, there are certainly good well pros and cons to using the name dragon. because dragon is not necessarily, well, at least today, it's not necessarily a bad thing anymore in the West as well. I mean, um, especially if you mention Chinese dragon, people immediately get it. People know that you're referring to the dragon of Chinese descent, of East Asian background,
Mm.
and it's sort of a common terminology. It's like talking about rice. You have Indian rice, you have Japanese rice, you have Chinese rice, and you have, well, Spanish rice and such. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not called rice in Japan, right? They call it gohan. So but then
Mm-hmm.
it's okay in English to call it rice because it's something that the world can understand.
Right.
So I certainly don't think calling long dragon is a problem, but I also wouldn't say that it's not a good thing to call, well, long, because I mean you can certainly celebrate the terminology behind it and the cultural background of the Chinese dragon. So it's certainly okay if you refer to it as long. I don't see why this has to be become a debate, you know.
Fair enough. So we are nearing the end of the interview, and for my final question to you, it's gonna go into the personal territory, and that is, what is your personal relationship with dragons, or do you have a personal relationship with dragons? Were you a big dragon enthusiast as a kid, or did you not have anything to do with dragons ever until this talk? Do you like dragons? Do you hate them? Tell us a bit about that.
Dragons. Well, I personally collect stamps. I'm a philatelist, and one of the notable collections I have is of the Qing Dynasty Panlong uh, stamps. Some of the first officially issued stamps by the Qing Dynasty. After years of um, refusing to issue, well, not refusing, but reluctant to reissue stamps officially, and then getting pressured by the by Westerners to issue their own stamps for convenience and such. So um, certainly see a lot of dragon imagery on stamps as well. Um, so yeah, that's probably the personal connection I could think of right now.
Very
And
interesting.
then this year is the dragon, the year of the dragon, and I I actually did a huge celebration with Zar and with other micronational partners, and I drew a because I used calligraphy to draw the character long in a way that's sort of shaped like a dragon, and sort of playing with the character. And I actually issued a stamp. We issued a stamp for Hershwell with that writing on it, celebrating the year of the dragon, the cultural year of the dragon celebration. So, um, I certainly invite all of you to celebrate with us this awesome year of the dragon.
Exactly, it's not over yet, and it's certainly a very interesting take on the personal side of dragons. I don't think I've ever talked to anyone before who told me, "Oh, my relationship with dragons has to do with stamps." So uh, that's a very interesting look at it. And yes,
Mm.
do remember the year of the dragon is not over. There are gonna be more talks and events coming. And there is
I
also going to
still
be a ceremonial year, a ceremonial end to the Year of the Dragon coming
right.
for Obscurium. So stay tuned for that. But Justin, do you have any final words?
Well, I have too many extra dragon postcards and stamps sitting in my room. So if you need any extra postcards, I could certainly mail them to you before the end of the year of the dragon. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Justin, for coming on. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure having you here and learning about East Asian dragons.
You too.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I've been Zar Antonov. It's been Justin Tsai. Goodbye.
Goodbye.